In the last video, we discussed about the chain rule, right? So for example, if there is a du to the n, look at that u there, and then dx. So du to the n over dx, that is the derivative of u to the n with respect to x, is also denoted by u to the n and then prime outside, okay, outside the parenthesis. The formula was n times u to the n minus 1 times u prime, right? Similarly, there were many forms, right? For sine, cosine, tangent, and all those. Look at this, d sine u, the derivative of sine u with respect to x. They don't match, right? Here also they didn't match. If they match, then it will be just cosine. But if they don't match, then you have to multiply by u prime. Okay, that is another notation of writing the derivative. So derivative of sine u with respect to x is cosine u times the u prime. Okay, so after you use that same concept, what will be the derivative of y squared with respect to x? Then it is like y is like a u, right? So it will be 2 and then y to the 2 minus 1 times y prime, right? Basically it is 2y times the y prime. That's the derivative of y squared. You see that? How about the derivative of cotangent y? See, they don't match here. They don't match here too. So you need to multiply by y prime at the end, right? So it will be negative cosecant square y times the y prime. That is the extra thing, right? So that y is inside the parenthesis. Actually, this y was inside the parenthesis. So this was the chain rule, okay? If the top and the bottom don't match, then you just find the derivative, and then the extra thing you do is times the y prime. Or if there is u, then u prime, okay, like that. Okay, so what is the explicit or the implicit differentiation? Previously, so far, all the derivative problems you did had y equals to, and on the right side there was just x, there was no y, right? That is called explicit function, meaning the y is solved explicitly, meaning there is no y on the right hand side, okay? There was no y mixed to x. So that is the implicit difference, explicit, okay? Y equals to function of x only. You see that? But sometimes you will see the x and y mixed together, and then it is not solved for y. You see that? So suppose there is like x squared y plus 5y squared equals to 9. So it is not solved for y as in the previous case, as in this example, right? So this is called the implicit. X and y mixed together, it is not solved for y. So how do I find out the derivative of an implicit function? Meaning that if x and y are mixed together, how do I find the derivative? The way of finding the derivative is exactly the same, but one thing is, if there is x and y multiplied together, then you will have to use the product rule there, okay? So if there is y squared, when you find the derivative, you will have to use that y squared, that the way that we did here. You need to do that. You need to multiply by y prime at the end, okay, when you find, after you find the derivative. So for the differentiation, we use all the power rule, chain rule, product rule, quotient rule, all trigonometric functions rule, all those rules exactly the same. Only the difference is, if there is y squared involved or y involved, we need to multiply by y prime in case of the chain rule, okay? So the same otherwise, all right? But you need y prime for every term that has y involved, or y squared or y cubed involved, and then after that at the end there you will see more than one y prime, because you will have more than one y there, okay? You will see more than one y prime, and then solve for y prime. Solve for y prime, because your goal will be to find out the derivative of y. That means your goal would be to solve for y. Okay, let us look at this example. Find y prime from x squared times y plus y squared equals to 5. So what do I do? That is, I want to find the derivative of this, okay? So find the derivative, differentiation. So if you differentiate, you will do x squared times y to the prime plus y squared to the prime equals to 5 to the prime. So differentiation can be written as d over dx and the whole thing, or prime outside the parenthesis, okay? So see, since there is a plus, the derivative of the sum is same as the sum of the derivative. So you can find out the derivative of this separately, derivative of this separately, and derivative of this separately, and then put those values. Okay, so you see that here, you see that this is like u and then this is like v, right, in product rule. Or you can write f and then g. See, what is the derivative of f times g? It is, the derivative will be f prime times g plus f times g prime, right? That is the product rule of the derivative. So how do I do that then? So it is the derivative of x squared. So x squared time prime times g is y plus x squared times y to the prime, the derivative, right? Plus, what is the derivative of y squared? It is same as the derivative of y squared here, right? So it will be 2y and then y prime, y to the 2 minus 1, that is just 2y times y prime equals to, the derivative of constant is 0. So what do you get here? It is basically, what is the derivative of x squared? 2x and then times y plus x squared times y prime, because y parenthesis prime is same as y prime, plus 2y y prime equals to 0. So basically this is implicit equation, right? Because there is x and y mixed together, meaning the equation is not solved for y. It is not solved for y. Now since, see, you find out the derivative and at the end you need to solve for y prime. So how many y prime are there? There is one y prime there. You see that? This is one y prime and there is another y prime. So we take the y prime out and then move all the terms without y prime on the other side. What I'm going to do is I'm subtracting 2xy, okay, subtracting 2xy, and then I'm taking y prime out. Let me take y prime out from the thing that is on the left, so you cancel out that, right? So what is left is x squared plus 2y equals to negative 2xy. You see that? Now again our goal is to solve for y prime. Now you divide by that quantity, right? You divide by x squared, so you divide by x squared plus 2y, and then divide this side by x squared plus 2y as well, so that's cancel out. So what is left there is y prime is equals to negative 2xy over x squared plus 2y. So that is the final answer. So there is nothing different, only the difference is if there is a y term involved, and then you will have to use, if it is a product form, then you need to use the product rule. If there is just y term, then you will have to find the derivative of y whatever exponent and multiply by y prime because of y there, because you are finding with respect to x, okay? And also, so again on this example I use the symbol prime, but here I will do d over dx, so that's another symbol but exactly the same way. So let's differentiate here. Differentiate. What do you get? You will get d over dx tangent x plus d over dx cotangent y plus equals to, right? So equals to d over dx 3x and then minus d over dx 8y, right? So d over dx 3x minus d over dx 8y. You see that? This is what you will get. Now look at this. I'm going to find out the derivative, right? See, this x match with the x. So what is the derivative of tangent x? It is secant square x plus d over dx cotangent y. There is y, there is x. They don't match. So you need to multiply by another extra y prime. So what is the derivative of cotangent? It is negative cosecant square y times there is y prime extra because they don't match. You see that? So plus there is 3 times x that match, so you move that to the front. So sorry, this is equals to again. So this is equals to, so you write that is equals to 3 times dx over dx, right? That is basically 1. The derivative of x is 1 minus 8 times it is dy over dx. You see that? Dy over dx, or basically we denote the dy over dx by y prime, right? So this is basically, what is that? It's basically y prime. So there is one y prime, there is another y prime. So we move this into the same side and then non-y prime term in the other side. What I'm going to do is negative. So I'm subtracting secant square y, and then I am adding. I'm subtracting here minus secant square y, and then adding 8y prime. So this is y prime, right? So at plus 8y prime plus 8y prime. So what happens is basically that will cancel out, and then that will cancel out because negative 8y prime and the positive 8y prime. So what is left there is basically 8y prime minus cosecant square y times y prime equals to, this is just 3 minus secant square y. You see that? Now your goal is to solve for y prime. So if you take y prime out, what is left is 8 minus cosecant square y. Let me do that. Y prime out. I'm taking y prime out. So 8 minus cosecant square y equals to 3 minus secant square y, right? So next thing we do is basically divide by that, because your goal is to solve for y prime, right? Cosecant square y, that cancel out, and then divide by 8 minus cosecant square y. So what is the final answer then? The final answer is y prime equals to 3 minus secant square y divided by 8 minus cosecant square y. That is the final answer. So idea is exactly the same, only the difference is if you are finding the derivative with respect to x, for y, for the term involving y, then if they are in the product form, you need to use the product rule. If they are in the just the y appear just y, or cosine y or sine y, just one single term, then you need to multiply by y prime or dy over dx. Okay guys, so let's do this example. Find the slope of xy equals to 8. Look at this. This is also product form, right? You need to use the product formula. So it is like f times g, right? Or u times v, whatever you want to, right? So what is the formula of the product? It is so let's write down differentiating. I'm differentiating, okay, or the finding the derivative. So what do you write for that is so f prime times g plus f times g prime. But here your f is, what is your f? F is x, right? So it will be, what is the derivative of x is 1 times g is y plus f is x times g prime is y prime, right? And then on the right side, this is just a number, so the derivative is 0. You see that? Now you need to solve for y prime, so you need to subtract y on both sides, right? So what do you get? X y prime equals to negative y. You see that? Now solve for y prime means divide by x. So what do you get? Divide by x, divide by x. So that will cancel out. So you get y prime equals to negative, just a second. So you get y prime equals to negative y over x, okay? But your goal is to find out the slope, means the derivative at negative 2 and negative 4. So you write at negative 2 and negative 4. So x is replaced by, this is like a x, you see that? This is like a y, right? So x will be replaced by negative 2 and y will be replaced by negative 4. So y prime is equals to negative 4 over negative 2. So what you get is basically negative positive 4 over negative 2 will be negative 2. So this is the slope. Okay, so you see that? So it is, so f times g, right? So the derivative of f times g is f prime times g plus f times g prime. That's what we wrote already. So it is f prime is 0, the derivative of 10 minus x is, derivative of 10 is 0 minus 1 times y square, right? Plus f times g prime is 10 minus x times the derivative of g prime, derivative of g, the derivative g prime, or the derivative of g is, this is dy square over dx, right? So they don't match. So it will be 2y times y prime equals to the derivative of x cubed is 3x square. So there is just x, because this is basically dx cubed over dx square, right? So at 2, 1, we will plug in 2, 1 later, or you can plug in right now too, because you are finding the equation of tangent line. So what you do here is you plug in x is 2 and y is 1, okay? So what do you get? So 0 minus 1 is negative 1, okay, times 1 square plus 10 minus 2, because x is 2, y is 1, right? So, and then 10 minus 2 times 2, 1, right? And then y prime equals to 3 times 2 square. So what do you get? Is negative 1 times 1 square is negative 1 plus 10 minus 2 is 8, okay, times 2 is 16 y prime. y prime equals to 3 times 2 square is how much? 2 square is 4 times 3 is 12. You see that? So what is y prime? So you need to add 1 on both sides. So you'll get 16y prime equals to 13. So this implies what is y prime is 13 over 16. You see that? That is your y prime. Now what is the equation of the tangent line then? So to find out the tangent line, so y prime is basically m, right? So y minus y1, that's what you use. M x minus x1. This is what you use, right? So what are the values of m, x, and then x1 then? So you will see that all those values of m, x, and x, so all those values of m, x1, and x2, all those will be basically plugged in here. So you will get y minus y1 this is x1 y1, right? So you can write x1 y1 there. Y minus 1 equals to 13 over 16, right? And then x minus 2, you simplify that. Okay, what do you get? You get y, add 1 on both sides after you simplify. So y equals to 13 over 16 x minus 26 over 16. I'm just distributing this, okay? And then plus 1, right? So 1 will be basically 16 over 16. So if you use calculator or if you just simplify, you'll get this. Y equals to 13 over 16x and then minus 10 over 16. This is the equation of the tangent line. That's what you will get. Actually, I had to close the software because there was an error. So this was the last question that I had written in that page. Okay. So how do I find out the second derivative if y to the 5 equals to x to the 7? That was the another question. So what we do is you find out the derivative, find differentiate. What you write is d over dx y to the 5 equals to d over dx x to the 7, right? So what you get is because they don't match, right? So it will be 5 and then y to the 4 times dy over dx, or you can write y prime, dx, dy over dx, or you can write y prime there, equals to, what do you get there? It's 7x to the 6 because they match, x and x match, right? So what you get there is dy over dx, you can write y prime, okay? So for this one you can basically, this is exactly same as y prime. So how do you write then? So let me write on y prime, that's fine. Y prime equals to 7x to the 6 over 5y to the 4. You see that? Now what you want to do next is you want to find out the second derivative, right? Again differentiate on this. What you get here is y double prime equals to, this is like f over z, right? So what is the formula for f over z? Do you remember that? So it is f prime times g minus f times g prime over g square, right? That's the derivative. Okay. So what do you get there then? So f prime is the derivative of the top. That is 7 times 6 times x to the 5 times g is 5y to the 4 minus f is 7x to the 6 times g is, so g prime is 5 times 4 times y to the 3 times y prime, because when you find out anything other than x you need to multiply by the y prime and then divide by 5y to the 4th to the square, right? That's the formula. So how much is that? 7 times 6 is 42 times 5 is that 210? 210 x to the 5 times y to the 4th minus, how much is that? So 7 times 5 is 35 times 4 is how much? 140 and then x to the 6 times y to the 3rd times y prime divide by 25 y to the 8, right? You see that? But what is the value of y prime? You plug in from here. Y prime I will plug in from here. So this is what I will get. 210 x to the 5 times y to the 4 minus 140, right? So what do I get there? Is 140 x to the 6 times y to the 3 times y prime is 7x to the 6 over 5y to the 4th. I'm using from here, okay? I'm using that y prime from here. And then I'll cancel out the things that are common, okay? And then we'll see. So divide by 25y to the 8. Okay, so you see that there are something common there. You can divide 140 by 5 is how much? So is that 28? 28, right? Because 28 times 5 is 140. Now also there is y to the cubed, cancel with y to the 4th is y to the cube times y, right? So what is left is 1y left there. You see that? So you will basically get, after this is 210x to the 5 times y to the 4 minus, what is 28 times 7? So 28 times 7 is 196, okay? So that will be 196, and then x to the 6 times x to the 6 divide by 25y to the 8. Okay, you see that? Now what do you do next is I want to write the numerator slightly different so that I can use the given thing, okay? So that is 210 equals 210 x to the 5 times y to the 4 minus 196 times x to the 5 times x to the 7. Why did I do that? Over 25y to the 8. Why did I do x to the 5 y x to the 7? Look at here. X to the 6 times x to the 6. This is the x times x times x 6 times, right? And then this is also x times. So altogether there are 12x multiplied together. I want to distribute that 12 to 5 and 7. Why? Because x to the 7 can be written as y to the 5, so that I can match this term similar to that one, okay? So this is basically, this term is basically y to the 5, right? That's what I am replacing by. So 210 x to the 5 y to the 4 minus 196 x to the 5 y to the 4. Oh, by the way, I forgot y there, okay? I forgot that y there. Divide by y. You see that? That is divide by y. So there is still divide by y there, okay? So y to the 5 divide by y, and then whole divide by 25y to the 8. You see that? So what do you get? So you cancel out that one term there. That will cancel out with that. That what is left is 4, right? So you get 210 x to the 5 y to the 4 minus 196 x to the 5 y to the 4 divided by 25 and then y to the 8. If you simplify that, what do you get? 210 minus, because they are like, because x to the 5 y to the 4, x to the 5 y to the 4, that will be 14 x to the 5 y to the 4 divided by 25 y to the 8, right? So if you divide by y to the 4, that and that will be 4 left, right? So that is the final answer will be 14 over 25 and then x to the 5 over y to the 4. So this is the final answer for this problem. So let us do very last example on this section, okay guys? So the last example is this. So let me write down that example. So find all points on the circle's equation is x squared plus y squared equals to 1, where the slopes is 5 over 12. So basically you are trying to find out all the points in the circle where the slopes are equal to 5 over 12, okay? So in the circle there may be more than one point where the slopes are equal to that value, okay? So we'll try to find out that. So how do I find out? Is I will find out the slope from here, the derivative, and equal to 5/12, and then find out the point. Okay, that's basically what we are doing here. So solution is basically what we do, we differentiate. When you differentiate, you will write d over dx, x squared plus d over dx, y squared equals to d over dx. So basically, you know, in case of the implicit differentiation, it is easier if you write d over dx form instead of prime. Okay, so this will be 2x plus this will be 2y and then y prime. You can write y prime later, or you can keep dy over dx, that's fine. So equals to 0. So if you simplify this, what do you get? You get subtract 2x on both sides, 2x minus 2x, that will cancel out, right? So what you get is 2y and then y prime equals to negative 2x. Divide by 2y, 2y, right? So what do you get? You will get y prime equals to negative x over y. But you want to find out all the points. Y prime equals to 5/12, right? So what is y prime? Negative x over y equals to 5/12. You see that? So if you multiply by y on both sides, what do you get? Multiply by y, that will cancel out, right? And then multiply by y. So what you get is negative x equals to 5y/12. So what is x? Basically x is negative 5y/12. This is the x value, but we need the points. We need the actual real number value for x. So how do I find out that? Is I need to plug in that x into the given equation, okay? So use x equals to negative 5y/12 in given equation. Given equation, what do you get? Basically, you will get, if you plug in that, you will get, let's plug in that, you will get x squared is negative 5y/12 square, right? And then plus y squared is just y squared equals to 1. That's the given equation, right? So how much is that? 25y squared over 144 plus y squared equals to 1, right? So you need to factor that y squared out. If you take y squared out, what do you get? 25 over 144 plus that is 1, right? Equals to 1. So basically, if you combine this, if you use calculator or just simplify this, there is 1/1. If you make the same denominator, you will get y squared times, that will be 169 over 144 equals to 1. So I need to multiply both sides by 144. So multiply by 144 over 169 times 144 over 169. So what do you get? You multiply by that will cancel out, that will cancel out, right? So what you get is basically y squared equals to 144 over 169, right? So you need to take square root. If you take the square root, you need to consider both plus and minus, like that, okay? So y is how much? 12/13 plus and minus. So you got the value of y. Now you need to find out the value of x. How do you find out the value of x? Is you just plug in here, okay? So we will plug in the value of y to find out x from here, okay? So let's take y equals to positive 12/13. 12/13. What do you get? You will get x equals to negative 5/12 times y is 12/13, right? So you cancel out 12 and 12. So what is negative 5/13? So x is negative 5/13 and then y is positive 12/13. So if you plug in y is negative 12/13, you will get negative times negative will be positive. So you will get positive 5/13 there. 5/13 equals to negative 12/13. So that is the final answer. And that's the end of section 2.5. Okay, guys.